Hello and welcome to the session on Java database connectivity. My name is Vic. I'm from Data Mining Tools Inc. Today we're going to talk about Java database connectivity. Java and the database. So database is nothing but it's an application that is used to store data. It is also known as persistent storage, as the data is stored and can be retrieved anytime. And Java and database are one of the uh, and most popular and are almost used everywhere to store data and retrieve it when required. SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Information stored in the database is in the form of tables, and the language that is used to query this information from the database is called SQL, or Structured Query Language. Using SQL, we can query a table based on the requirement. So, for instance, we have a table of students and it has all the details that includes their marks and everything. You can query it and get the data of any student that you want, but you have to pass either the name of the student or the student ID to retrieve the information. CRUD operations. So CRUD stands for create, read, update and delete. This is one of the property of the database. So what is create? Create statement in SQL looks like this. Create table, table name, number and name, which is varchar. Varchar means variable character 2, and 25 is the limit that it has, number of characters, 25 characters. So you can create a table using this statement. I think this is MySQL. So yeah, I think that's MySQL. And next is read. Read statement would look like this. Select star from my tab where my num is 25. It selects all the columns. It selects the row of the data which has my num is equal to 25. All the entire data of my num 25 is displayed on the screen when you read the statement, when you use the read statement. Update statement looks like this. Update my tab, set my num is equal to 88 where my num is equal to 25. So where there is 25, you change it to 88 throughout the table my tab. Next, delete statement. This statement looks like this. Delete from my tab where my num is 88. So all the rows which has my num as 88 are deleted in the table my tab. So this is CRUD operations. Next, these are the characteristics of the database, that is what all can be done with the database. So DDL is data definition language. So DDL, DML, TCL and TCL. So that is data definition language, data manipulation language, data control language and transaction control language. So this gives us an overview of the database. So DDL means all the operations that can perform on the database, like tables, like create, drop, alter, truncate, comment and rename on tables, indexes, procedures and constraints. So tables are tables that, index is nothing but a word. It's like a pointer to the table. You index it, and procedures are a set of instructions that are executed and which are triggered. So that's with that. Next, data manipulation language. Data manipulation language is nothing but you can query the data. For instance, you can do either of the four operations, that is insert, update, delete or select. And data control is grant and revoking permissions, and transaction control is at a higher level where you can commit and you can set a save point to the database, or you can set a commit to the database, so on and so forth. Next, let's talk about CRUD in Java. Is CRUD operations are basically performed with Java. So what Java does is it's like an application that sits on the top and it talks to the database and behind, and retrieves the data, updates the data, or shows us the data, what the user or the application is supposed to do. Next, JDBC. JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity. So JDBC is a standard Java API that provides a set of interfaces and classes for connecting Java applications to relational database. So relational database is nothing but common databases. It allows developers to do these three in a sequence. So first, it establishes a connection. So connect to various database management systems like MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, SQL Server, and so forth. Next, it executes SQL queries on the database, and that data is retrieved and shown in the application. For instance, the DDL, DML, and DQL are executed on the database. Next, process results. Retrieve and manipulate the data. So once you retrieve the data, you can write wrappers on top of it, which formats the data and displays it in the way that we want to. So this is JDBC. This is how JDBC is structured. So you have the application sitting on the top, either Java application, either a servlet or an applet, and more, which are sitting via the Java JDBC API connects to the manager, which talks to the databases. So just the application sits on one server. We'll talk about it in the next. Okay, so remember this. So application, JDBC, and databases. Next, components of JDBC. JDBC has 4 components. First, the application. It is a Java application or the servlet that communicates with the data source. Next, the API. The API allows you, it has to be referred in your application. It allows to create interfaces like the driver, result set, prepared statement connection, and more. The manager plays key role in the architecture. It uses some database specific drivers to effectively connect enterprise applications to databases. The manager takes care of the connection between the server and the database, and JDBC drivers are the one that interact with the application and the database. Next, this is an example of the code. Let's look at it. First, you import the SQL namespaces, or you import the SQL namespaces, then you call the class database example. You create your void main method. This is where the starting point of the program. Next, you connect the class with the driver. Then you establish a connection, load the JDBC driver, and then you establish a connection and call the driver manager. Driver manager comes from the namespace java.sql driver manager, and in that you call the predefined method called get connection and give the properties to it. The properties will give us 4, that is you'll give JDBC, the server's name, and so on and so forth. We'll talk about it more later. Next, you'll have the statement, and there you'll establish a connection, pass the statement to it, and the statement to execute it, you create a result set and you execute query from the statement and pass the SQL structure to it. SQL that is select star from employees, and the result set is stored in RS. Then you write your simple loop using while statement to read all the rows that are in the result set. This is an example of the program. Next, the first step is importing JDBC packages. To import JDBC package, you use import java.sql.star, or you can import individually like java.sql dot connection, then java.dequal.device manager, JDBC, so on and so forth, and call the pre-built or inbuilt classes and methods. Okay, you can do that. Next, step 2, establish a connection. The next connection is to establish a connection. As I've told you, after loading the driver, establish connection as shown below. You call connection con is equal to driver manager.get connection and pass the URL. URL is the one, but that is the path to the database, like string URL is equal to JDBC my connection URL. You pass a username, password, connection, and URL. So this is what you do. The connection is a reference to the connection interface. So URL is uniform resource locator, and here it is a MySQL database located at the local host, which is in the computer itself, and it talks to the port 3306, and the database name is testdb. Next, then you create a statement. Once a connection is established, you can interact with the database. The statement, prepared statement, and callable statement interfaces define methods that enable you to send SQL commands and receive data from your database. So create a statement, establish a connection. Example statement st is equal to con.create statement, and st stores the value for it. Yeah, let's go to the next one. Execute SQL query. So here what we do is we after creating the connection, we pass to that statement, we send a query, that is select star from students in this example, in the result set RS. So the result set RS stores all the records that are executed with the SQL query select star from students, and then while rs.next, so you iterate in the result set and print out system.out.println, you print out get string name. So all the students data is displayed uh, from the result set. Next, so this is very simple. Now here comes the most important part, that is the executing the query. The query here is a SQL query. We know we can have multiple types of queries. Some of them are as follows. One is updating and inserting in the database or retrieving the database. So these are the different commands used. Next, this is very important. Finally, we have after finishing the entire transaction, we have to close the connection. Without closing the connection, if you leave the application, one, it can crash at sometimes, or it could enable hackers to get into the database. Next, let's look at this example. Let's walk through the example once more. So here the example says public void connect to and query database. So first we have a method called connect to and query database, which takes in two things, username and password. The connection interface creates an interface. A connection is then created by the driver manager with the connection string, username, password. Then the connection implements the and the statement interface creates a statement. The implementation, the Oracle statement, and the data is passed to the result set. This is how the flow exactly goes in. So you have a connection object, and you pass the connection including the URL, the URL database name, then username and password, and then you create a statement, and in that you pass the connection to it, and then you execute the statement with the SQL, and the data is stored in the result set. You iterate through the result set and print out the data. This is it. Next, there are many different kind of architectures, but let's look at two structures here: two-tier architecture and three-tier architecture. So a Java application communicates directly with the database using a JDBC driver. This is a two-tier architecture. So the client application sits on one machine, that is your PC or your laptop, and JDBC and database are located in one server. So from the application, you talk to the server, and the JDBC talks to the database and sends it back. In a three-tier architecture, what we see is client is sitting on one computer, application server JDBC on one computer, and the database is on third computer. So three-tier architecture. So user queries are sent to a middle tier service in a three-tier architecture, which interacts with the database. The database results are processed by the middle tier and then sent back to the user. So the client talks to the application server, and application server interacts with the database, and the data is sent from the database to the application server, and the application server sends to the client server or the desktop computer. These are the two different types of architectures. Next, here are some of the classes used in the used here for JDBC database connectivity. Driver manager manages JDBC drivers and establishes database connections. Connection represents a session with a specific database. Statement used to execute static SQL queries. Prepared statement, precompiled SQL statement used for dynamic queries with parameters. Callable statement used to execute stored procedures in the database. Stored procedure is a different concept. They are pre-executed functions stored in the database, which are when called as particular activity is done. Result set, it is used to represent result set of the query, allowing the data in the form of rows stored in it. SQL exception handles SQL exceptions and throws them out if they're caught with any exceptions. It is displayed. So these are some of the classes. Next, closing connection. Closing, remember always to close the connection. This is very important, and always do a null check before closing the connection. So performing a null check before attempting to close a connection is a critical defensive programming practice. Attempting to call a method on a null object will result in a runtime error such as null pointer exception, and sometimes this could even crash the application. So with this, we come to an end of the presentation. So here we did take a look at Java database connectivity, and I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you.